define Chris Paul, would define myself as a father, a son, a brother, a husband, athlete, but most of all, just human.
Chris Paul presented the Kobe and Gigi Bryant Advocacy Award.
I wanted to go to college, got to the NBA, I got drafted. I wanted my parents to have a house. Did that, then what? You can't just say I'm done. You got a lot more life to live.
Let's do it.
Mark Cuban, thank you so much.
Talk it out, let's get into it.
Starting a book tour for a new book, 61 Lessons from Popeye.
The love that he showed is something that I'll never forget.
We gon' do the most, yes. Foot all on they throat, yes. Oh, you wanted to ghost the best. Made it out alive, I'm blessed. Leave one other guy now. We was taught to die together. Get put down wherever. We gon' ride forever, ride forever.
I'm extremely excited to be partnering with Koya and support Black colleges. This year, your vote could not be more important. Get organized.
Because when your cholesterol goes sky high, you're going to wish you had Jesse.
Talk to him. Talk to him.
Yo.
State Farm's here to help.
What if I want to switch up my look?
Newcomer Chris Paul is maintaining a narrow lead in these final meters. Those are the hips of a champion.
Chris smiles and says, "Wow, love, State Farm's surprisingly great race." Then suddenly his body turns into a basketball. Come on, this stuff is...
Chris?
Yo.
Let's do it.
The purpose of Club 61 is to expose you guys to certain things that you may not get exposed to on a daily basis. With my team and our resources, there's a lot of things that can happen going forward. Thanks for hanging out with me.
Appreciate y'all being on this journey with us. The rest is history.
Battle of the baddest. Only one of us are leaving.
Chris, you've been in a lot of commercials, man.
Man, I forgot about a lot of that stuff.
Please welcome Chris Paul, Pranitha Patil, and Daniel Schindler in conversation with our leader, Roger McClendon, on the wave of the future for high-performance athletes.
Thank you, Alex. Thank you, Alex. Can everybody hear me? This is a fantastic panel here, and you're going to be blown away. So we're going to talk about two subjects. One is health related to performance, and the other one is around sustainability and how that ties into sustainability. So the interesting thing is with Chris is he's going in his 20th year of the NBA. That's unheard of. So congratulations, Chris, on accomplishing that feat.
Thank you.
And that's not by accident, as we'll hear. The other thing is, Chris, as you heard in the video, is more than just a basketball player, right? He's prolific in a lot of different ways, and one is investing into these businesses that are plant forward. And the third is living that lifestyle, which I think is fantastic. And so I want you, as we talk about how you have engaged, why, like how did that come about? You know, what was your impetus to get into all these different things?
Yes, first and foremost, I want to say it's an honor and privilege to be here and to be a member of the board of the of the Green Sports Alliance. I'm so honored and privileged to do that to begin with. But for me, I got into the NBA when I was 19, so going into my 20th season, you learn a lot. You learn a lot. I came into the NBA as a kid. Every day on the way to practice, I was telling you in the back, I got McDonald's. Every single day I get a value meal, a lot of orange juice, and a couple extra hash browns, and was just, how long can I do this, right? And then as my career started going on, I started to pay attention to a lot more. I started paying attention to my health, to my teammates, to everything that was going on around me. I got a chance to be the president of the Players Association for 8 years, and really got an opportunity to see what was happening as far as globally around the game and as far as the things that were going on in the world. And I've been grateful to be able to learn from a lot of people who were a lot smarter than me, right? And so that has been a journey, especially on my behalf as far as health and wellness.
Appreciate it. We'll get into more depth. So Chris is an example, and now we're going to go to Pranitha, right? So tell us about the science and tell us about your business and, you know, the nitty-gritty details of how Chris has really accomplished this. So go into the details of your company.
Thank you for having me. I'm Pranitha. I'm one of the co-founders and the COO of a company called Function Health. And what we do is we're building a healthcare platform that starts with diagnostic testing. So we test 100 blood and urine markers, and we get a sense of how you're doing across your heart, your thyroid, your hormones, and how that is really changing over time. So when we think about a 20-year basketball career or the average Joe on the street, everybody is aging, and our goal is to have folks age with vitality and grace by giving people the data and the information to be able to own their health and actually take actions after they receive the results back. So that's a quick overview of Function.
Love it, love it. So now we're going to go into product. Buoy, right, Daniel? So Buoy is on the market. So I don't know, like, tell me about the health benefits and what's differentiated about your product and how does that tie into the health and wellness conversation?
Yeah, definitely. So Buoy is an easy squeezy bottle that has just what you need with electrolytes, vitamins, antioxidants, and 87 trace minerals that you can use throughout the day, all day, every day, to keep your hydration and health at its best. And so I think, as you piggybacking off of what you guys were saying, I think consistency is the biggest challenge. And it's not just how do I stay hydrated during the game, but how do I stay hydrated on my off days, in the morning, at night, and maintaining that peak hydration that it enables you to have peak performance. Even 5% dehydration has led to kids having way worse test scores when they've tested that. So both mental and physical performance is really dependent on maintaining that peak 100% hydration. And for hydration, it's really important to get electrolytes throughout the day and not all at once.
I think proof is, in the example that you have, 20 years in the NBA is proof, right? So we begin to understand, if I make this change, what's happening, and how do I begin to, get the information that you need to be able to make the changes that you need. So go into a little more depth in those conversations we had in the back room about these markers and these testings, because I think that's the secret that people don't know, and everybody should have an opportunity to be healthy.
Absolutely. So in 2005 is the year I was drafted, and 2011 was the first year that our team actually had a nutritionist, right? As you guys have seen, these athletes continue to, you saw Tom Brady play for a very, very long time, and it's not just Tom Brady. There's a lot of athletes now that are able to play for a lot longer, and it was so fun talking in the back. 2011 was the first year I actually got tested as far as my blood for things that tell me things that would tell me what foods make me more sleepy, things that make me more tired, more sore. And I was just blown away that as soon as I did the test, I said, I need to do this for my mama them, right? That was my first thing. I need my parents, I want my brother, I want my wife, I want everyone to be able to know this information, and not just me because I'm a high performance athlete, because for me, my mindset has always been, one day this ball is gonna stop bouncing, right? And I won't be on an NBA team, and I'm gonna need to live my everyday life. And so how can we make sure that everyone else around, not just me, the athlete in my household, has an opportunity to find out this information?
So go deeper, as we were in the back room having this conversation, and about your parents and about your journey, and at 20 years old, the challenges that you had, Pranitha.
Absolutely. So in my 20s, I found out during my second year of college that I was pre-diabetic, had high cholesterol genetically, and had PCOS. All in one go, nice little diagnosis. And the physician that I met with told me, you should get on metformin, which is a medication, and you should fix your diet. Good luck. And from there, I spent the past 15 years essentially experimenting on myself on what kind of diet works with me. So I switched from vegetarian to vegan, and then I started, different lifestyle, different adding and removing different foods. And the whole idea is that we're an N of one. My body is incredibly different from the folks up here and the folks out here. And it really depends on your individual biological makeup and biological composition and how that's changing over time to get to a place where we can actually understand longevity and aging gracefully. So that was my story, and I've heard a similar story number of people that I've talked to that have joined Function that are like experiencing something similar where you don't get the answers from your physician, and it ultimately is up to you to own your health.
So before you go to sustainability, Daniel, we're going to go back to Chris on this because I really want him to explain to the audience, what does lifestyle shift mean? Like, what do you have to do to be in the NBA, to travel, to be on the road, and be able to leverage a plant-based diet when you're in the middle of North Carolina or Louisville, Kentucky, maybe I may say?
It's hard. it's really hard because there's a lot of planning that has to go into it. Especially the fact that now, you know, I'm 39 and I'm in the locker room sometimes with 22-year-olds, you know, and sometimes guys are younger than that. And so it's attention to detail, is making sure when I leave the house that I got water, you know, with me, I got buoy with me, you know, all these different things when you travel. And I'm born and raised on the East Coast. I'm born and raised in North Carolina, so I grew up going to my grandmother's house regularly, eating every part of the pig that you could imagine, you know. And so for me now, you know, when I go home, it's tough to go over to Granny's house and be like, yeah, Granny, I'm not eating that. You know, and even some of these cities that I go to during the NBA season, a lot of people wouldn't know it, but I actually find chefs in these cities, you know what, or go on those different apps and try to find out if there's a Whole Foods that I can go to, because we're gonna be in that city for 2 or 3 days or whatnot. So I wanna go grocery shopping and get fruits and different types of things to have it in my room. And a lot of times fans just see the game, but there's a lot of planning and prepping that goes into if you wanna compete, and I wanna compete.
So we talk about sustainability, and a lot of times we forget about the health and wellness side. So I think this is super important. We had Maggie Baird talk about, you know, her journey around, you know, food deserts, and, you know, what are we eating? You know, how can we do better? And I want to switch that to sustainability and the relationship between food and sustainability. So talk about the benefits of buoy and how you're looking at your product and thinking about sustainability within your product.
Yeah, definitely. So I think it's important to focus on, you know, what you're putting in your body, and just as important, what you're not putting in your body. And so our journey started, similar story, where I was in my early 20s, and my pee was yellow, and I was super dehydrated, and I wanted a better way, more convenient way to stay hydrated. And I knew of Gatorade, but once I started to learn more about the science, dive into different ingredients, learn more about what's good for us, what's not, it was clear to me that there's a huge opportunity to sort of revolutionize the way that we hydrate with electrolytes and get that consistency. And then from a sustainability point of view, it's not only important when we're looking at products, what do we put in our body, but where does that product end up? A lot of times in the ocean. And so our journey was also revolved around, how do you make a product that is 100% micro or post-consumer recycled materials and can replace single serving stuff. A lot of stuff in single servings just is a lot of plastic waste. So how do you care about the environment, even if it's a little bit more expensive?
Back to you, Pranitha. So,
yeah, I have a...
Yeah, go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, you go.
I have a slightly different framing when it comes to sustainability, and this is proactive health is the most sustainable thing we can do. Because if we think about healthcare costs that a single diabetic has onto the system, if we were able to catch that person from having diabetes at their pre-diabetic stage, the cost to the system, the cost to their care team, to their family, is immense. And you can take that and scale it to any chronic condition that anyone has in the country, and think about that from the sustainability of cost to the healthcare system. So that's what I think about. And I think the food piece is a critical part of the conversation of what is the quality of the food that we're eating, what is the impact of soil and the soil that's used to grow the fruits and vegetables that we eat, the fact that that soil is depleted. We could just keep talking in cycles here, but I'll keep it there. Yeah.
I'm going to pick on you just a little bit more because you talked about your vision a little bit and why you want to put these services out, not just for high-performing athletes, but, women in your demographic and, why that is important. So tell high level just your vision and where you see you going with this information.
Yeah, so Function wasn't built just for high-performing athletes. It was built for everybody, and I genuinely mean that. We have 40,000 members today with Function, and most of our population, 65%, are women. And what we found is, unsurprisingly, they're the core pillar of health in their families. So we have a female join, a mom join. She brings along her spouse, her parents, and her kids. And they're all on the journey together. And that's a very powerful way to think about health in communities, because if your community isn't eating healthy or isn't behaving in a healthy way, you're influenced by that. And that's a huge piece of the puzzle, is doing this in community and feeling like you have people to rely on while you're going on this journey.
Well, I don't have all the stats, but we know there's a correlation between, your economic status and your health. We know there's a correlation and disparity between, minorities in health and wellness. And Chris, I know you do a lot of work in the community. And I'm gonna hold up a book. Chris don't know this, but I've read this a couple of times now. It's called 61. And it's about, the influence that Chris, his pawpaw, which I have a pawpaw too, so we have that in common, that influence that he had on you. And so the things that we're talking about, I know we only have 30 seconds to talk about it, and I promised that we wouldn't go over, but high level, just talk about giving back to the community and why this is so important.
Yeah, I just love being here learning, right? That's one of the things. My parents might not have said I always wanted to do that as a kid in school, but as I got older, I really got into learning and finding out more information. And so even sitting here right now, I just think that we all just have to make sure that we continue to educate our youth, our kids. Like, I'm actually mad that my kids aren't here with me. Well, my son has a game tonight, but it's so important to teach them, and that's what I've tried to do through my 20-year career and being so privileged. Privilege is a word, and I know that I'm very privileged in that the last 20 years I've had an opportunity to know these doctors and to do these tests, but every time I learn something, I try to take it on and pass it on to my friends, my family, and these kids, because once they really have an appreciation for the environment and all these different things, you think about sometimes these kids want to see someone else doing it. Right? They're not all leaders. They want to know that it's cool, that it's okay to protect the environment. So for me, it's just always about passing on what knowledge I have.
I appreciate this panel. I appreciate you, Chris, Pranitha. Thank you very much, Daniel. Give a round of applause for this great panel.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you, man.